Chosen ones, you were never left behind. What the world called loneliness, heaven called safeguarding. Your singleness was never a punishment. It was a fortress raised around you in the spirit. Every empty bed, every unanswered text, every night you thought silence mocked you, those were not signs of rejection. They were layers of divine armor. God was not withholding, He was shielding. Behind the veil of what you perceived as delay, a higher strategy was unfolding. You were hidden, not forgotten. You were preserved, not abandoned. Look closer at the patterns of your life. How many times did a door close at the last second? How often did people walk away who seemed perfect in the moment? Every time you felt dismissed, it was a hidden interception from above. There are alliances you never knew were planned against you. There are covenants your ancestors made that you were destined to break. Singleness became the wall that kept the enemy from laying claim to your future before you knew its weight. Heaven saw the traps you could not. While you thought you were missing out, heaven saw the battlefield littered with snares and said, "Not this one, not my chosen." Every no became a shield. Every unanswered prayer became a whisper that you could not yet hear. Wait, I have something greater. But this waiting has not been idle. It has shaped you, refined you, and trained your spirit to hear the quiet voice of God. The seasons of silence have sharpened your discernment, teaching you to recognize His voice above all others. In that stillness, He has been building you into a vessel strong enough to carry the destiny waiting on the other side of this chapter. And so the story begins not with punishment, but with preservation, not with abandonment, but with preparation. Your singleness is not an empty place. It is a holy ground, a consecrated battlefield where unseen wars have already been fought for your future. But what if I told you that the silence you thought was empty actually carried a secret code? A code written into the fabric of your destiny, waiting for the day it would finally be unlocked. There are seasons in life where everything feels like it has been placed on pause, where doors that looked promising suddenly close, and paths that once seemed open become blocked by invisible walls. To the natural eye, it feels like rejection. To the soul, it can sting as abandonment. Yet in the spiritual realm, there are movements happening that cannot be seen, battles being fought in silence, and fortresses being raised around your destiny without your permission or awareness. The waiting season, as heavy as it feels, is often the hidden fortress that protects you from forces that were never meant to touch you. It is the unseen scaffolding built by the Creator to keep you intact until the appointed time. There are stories throughout the ages where the chosen were separated before their time of unveiling. Think of those who were hidden away in caves, deserts, or wildernesses. They were not punished by isolation, but preserved by it. You too have walked through days when the silence pressed against your chest like a weight, when your phone did not ring, when friends seemed distant, when love seemed unreachable. What if those moments were actually the strong walls of a fortress, meant to shield you from a premature collapse? What if what you thought was emptiness was actually the echo of heaven preparing you for the stage you were never supposed to step onto, unprepared? Your waiting is not random. It is strategic. Every pause has meaning. Every delay has design. And every stretch of loneliness is a chapter written into your story to keep you from being entangled with those who were never aligned with your true path. There are people who could have consumed your light, connections that could have drained your spirit, and unions that could have derailed the entire unfolding of your divine purpose. The fortress of singleness was raised to block those attacks long before they reached your heart. But here lies the mystery. Fortresses are not just places of defense, they are places of training. Within the walls of this hidden season, your spirit is being sharpened, your vision is being cleared, and your strength is being forged. You are being kept apart, not to be forgotten, but to be prepared for the moment the gates finally open. And when they do, you will understand why every closed door had to remain closed. Yet what if the very fortress that has shielded you is also carrying the blueprint of something far greater, a secret chamber designed to reveal itself only when you are ready to see? There were moments when you were certain the answer had arrived, when someone walked into your life carrying all the qualities you thought you had prayed for. The timing seemed perfect, the emotions were real, and the possibilities felt endless. Yet suddenly, almost without explanation, it fell apart. Promises vanished, connections unraveled, and what you thought would be your breakthrough slipped like sand through your hands. You replayed the conversations, you wondered what went wrong, and you questioned whether you had missed the voice of God. But what if the very collapse you grieved was not a failure, but a divine interception? Heaven does not always answer with thunder or light. Sometimes it answers with silence, with an unseen hand pulling you back before your soul is entangled in a snare. Yeshua once reminded his followers that not all who come in his name carry his truth, and not all who promise love carry the fragrance of it. Many of the things you begged for were dressed beautifully on the outside, but carried weights that would have crushed your spirit. Some people were only assignments of distraction, meant to derail you from the course written into your destiny. So heaven intervened, and the rejection you felt was the protection you never saw. There are countless ways the Spirit builds walls around you, ways that seem cruel at first, but are rooted in love. The phone call that never came, the message that stopped suddenly, the opportunity that shut its door. All of these moments echo a higher voice saying, "Not this one, not now, not ever." For every no you received, there was a deeper yes being preserved. What looked like a loss was often the preservation of your lineage, your calling, and your assignment that stretches far beyond the desires of the moment. But blocking is not just about who could not enter your life. It is about aligning the sacred timing of who must. To allow the counterfeit would be to jeopardize the arrival of the true. This is why the interruptions came so abruptly, why your heart was left wrestling with confusion, because the higher realm was moving faster than your understanding. There are hours in the night when the world feels unbearably quiet, when even the ticking of the clock seems louder than your own thoughts. It is in these hours that questions rise like waves. Why the path feels empty, why your arms feel void, why your prayers seem unanswered. And yet, if you have ever leaned into that silence deeply enough, you would have noticed that it is not silence at all. It is a language spoken in stillness, a whisper too soft for the crowded hours of the day. Yeshua himself often withdrew into the solitude of the night, not as an escape, but as a secret meeting place where heaven speaks in ways only the heart can understand. In the quiet of your own nights, when no one else could hear, his presence lingered. Sometimes it came as a memory, sometimes as a scripture rising unbidden in your spirit, sometimes as the inexplicable peace that stilled the storm in your chest. Those nights were not empty. They were encounters disguised as loneliness. While you thought you were abandoned, a whisper was carrying you, reminding you that you were seen, that you were loved, that you were chosen long before the foundations of the earth. The silence of your nights has been a school, teaching you how to hear without noise, how to trust without confirmation, how to walk when the path ahead is invisible. It is in those dark hours that the deepest faith is carved, the kind that does not depend on what eyes can see, but leans fully into the unseen hand guiding every step. And though the world may not understand the tears you have cried, or the questions you have wrestled with, the heavens have recorded every one, answering in ways that are written into the architecture of your journey. But the whisper does more than comfort. It directs. Within that stillness are clues, fragments of instruction, and hints of the future you are walking toward. The waiting and the quiet are not without design. They are layered with signals that will make sense only when the appointed time collides with destiny. There are forces that study your patterns, enemies that trace the lines of your life waiting for an opening. They move quietly, through people, through desires, through subtle connections that appear harmless but carry hidden snares. Many of the attacks prepared against you never reached your door, not because you were stronger, not because you were smarter, but because you were alone. What felt like isolation was, in truth, a barrier that kept weapons from entering your circle. Had certain relationships been allowed, had certain alliances been formed, you would have carried into your spirit the very poison crafted to dismantle your destiny. When you looked around and saw others entangled in relationships, building lives that seemed complete, it may have pierced you with longing. Yet, while they were opening their gates to what seemed like companionship, you were being spared from opening yours to destruction. Singleness became your shield, a quiet veil that blocked attacks you did not even know were being launched. There are traps you will only recognize years later, looking back to realize how closely destruction brushed against you, and how separation was the only reason you still stand. The unseen realm knows the weight you carry, the potential of your calling, the ripple your life will send into generations. That is why the war over your connections has been so intense. Every enemy of your future knew that the quickest way to your downfall was through who you gave your heart to. This is why the delays came. This is why the seeming emptiness stayed. It was not random. It was not cruelty. It was defense. Your aloneness has been the shield that turned back arrows before they reached your soul. The loneliness you despised was the covering that kept you from inheriting battles that were not yours to fight. Every time you felt left behind, you were actually one step ahead, hidden from destruction, preserved for the moment when the right alignment would arrive. But what if the very enemies that could not reach you in your solitude are not gone at all, but waiting beyond the veil, watching for the moment the fortress walls open? Every destiny has a gate, a threshold that separates the hidden seasons from the revealed ones. Yours has been sealed, not by accident, but by the hand of timing itself. You may have pressed against it, praying for it to open, yearning for the life you envisioned waiting on the other side. Yet no matter how hard you tried, the gate remained unmoved. It was never rusted shut, never broken. It was sealed with intention. The realm of heaven knows that to release what is meant for you too early would be to endanger the very foundation of your calling. There is a rhythm to divine timing, one that does not answer to impatience or demand. Yeshua once said that even he did not act outside of his appointed hour, for every miracle and every revelation had a season. In the same way, your story is not delayed. It is aligned with a timetable far beyond your sight. The gate has not denied you. It has preserved what belongs to you until the moment your spirit is ready to carry its weight without crumbling. Think of how many doors you wished to open that would have led you into battles unprepared. How many times did you ask for something that would have consumed you rather than built you? The sealed gate is not rejection. It is mercy dressed in disguise. Behind it are treasures, relationships, and assignments that are being guarded fiercely, waiting until you are not only ready to receive them, but strong enough to protect them. The waiting has not been empty. It has been shaping you, sharpening your discernment, and teaching you patience in a world addicted to immediacy. The sealed gate has been both a test and a teacher, proving whether your faith can endure when nothing changes, whether your heart can still trust when your hands are empty. It is in this proving ground that destiny takes root, unseen but alive, waiting for the hour when the lock finally turns. But gates do not stay closed forever, and when the seal is finally broken, it will not open slowly, it will burst with force. The question is, when it does, what else will come rushing through with it that you have not yet prepared for? From the very beginning, the connections of your life were not meant to be random. Every encounter, every bond, every separation has been woven into a larger design that stretches beyond your present understanding. Relationships are more than moments of companionship. They are alignments of destiny, carrying the power to either unlock your purpose or dismantle it completely. That is why the blueprint of your relationships has been hidden, guarded, and revealed only in fragments, because the weight of it is too great to be handled casually. There are blueprints written in the heavens that detail not just who enters your life, but when and why. Timing determines impact. The right person at the wrong time can be as dangerous as the wrong person altogether. This is why delays have shadowed your connections. It was never about withholding love or denying you fulfillment. It was about ensuring that the blueprint was honored, that the lines drawn before you were born were not erased by premature choices. Consider how many crossroads you have faced, where one decision could have shifted everything. One yes, spoken without discernment, could have rewritten your entire path. One alignment, birthed out of impatience, could have cost you years of restoration. Yet in ways you did not see, the sacred blueprint held firm. It did not bend to your emotions. It did not crumble under your frustration. It remained intact, because the hand that drew it never changes. And so your story has carried this rhythm of release and restraint, of openings followed by sudden closures. At times you thought you were cursed, yet in truth you were being preserved. The blueprint did not allow what was unfit to be joined to you, because to do so would be to alter the course of not just your life, but the lives that your destiny will touch. For when you are chosen, your connections are not small, they ripple across generations. Still, every blueprint has hidden markings, codes that are only revealed when the time is right. The question is, if the design of your relationships has been this carefully guarded, what greater secret is etched into the unseen part of the plan that you have not yet discovered? There are things written in the hidden places of eternity, decisions made in realms where your name has been spoken long before you could defend it. What you called delays in your life were not random. They were the result of unseen councils, gatherings where your path was weighed against the weight of generations. Every time you wondered why a connection slipped through your hands, why someone you wanted disappeared, why the rhythm of love seemed to betray you, there was a greater decision already made on your behalf. In those chambers, your attachments were tested, measured, and when they were found unfit, they were delayed for your protection. Scripture speaks of how Yeshua declared that what is bound in heaven will be bound on earth, and what is loosed in heaven will be loosed on earth. This means that the alignments of your life are not first decided in the natural, they are determined in the unseen. The council of heaven has seen the dangers you could not, the betrayals you could not detect, the hidden motives that smiled at your face but schemed against your purpose. And so, in mercy, they allowed the weight of waiting to guard you. When you thought you were abandoned, you were actually being voted for. When you thought you were overlooked, your name was being spoken in halls you cannot yet imagine. That is why certain attachments never survived, why even those you prayed for with tears still walked away. The decision was not rejection. It was alignment with the eternal pattern that guides your destiny. But councils do not only block, they also release. There will come a moment when the deliberations shift, when the verdict is no longer delay, but fulfillment, and what was once withheld is suddenly granted. The timing will not make sense to those who only measure by calendars, but for you, it will feel like a door opening into a room you had already seen in your dreams. Yet here lies the deeper mystery. If councils of light were speaking over your attachments, were there also other councils rising in opposition, fighting to twist the course of your unions before they even began? The battles you are facing did not begin with you. They stretch back through the lines of your family, woven into the choices and agreements of those who walked before you. Patterns of broken relationships, cycles of betrayal, histories of abandonment, and unions that carried more pain than peace. These are not accidents, they are inheritances, chains disguised as normal life. And yet, where others were entangled, you were set apart. What looked like delay in your life was, in truth, a shield raised to keep you from repeating what had already been written in your bloodline. Singleness became the wall that stopped what wanted to continue. It severed the flow of curses that tried to run unhindered from one generation to the next. By keeping you hidden, the higher realm was cutting off access to your future. The partners you longed for but never received, the connections you thought were stolen from you, were often the very channels those old battles would have used to infiltrate your destiny. What you called loneliness was actually an interception, a divine disruption to the script that wanted to recycle your ancestors' pain through your story. When you look back, you can see the threads, how certain relationships would have carried the same wounds you saw play out in your family tree, how certain choices would have locked you into the very struggles you swore you would never repeat. Yet something stronger than your will was at work, a shield that made sure your no was heard even when you didn't know how to speak it. Singleness carried that shield for you, protecting your lineage until you were strong enough to break the cycle consciously. But shields are not meant to stay forever. They are temporary covers while the warrior is being prepared. Once the time comes for release, The same force that preserved you will guide you into connections that build rather than break, that heal rather than wound. In the heavenly archives, nothing about your life is accidental. There are scrolls written with names, times, and seasons, carrying details so precise that even the hairs on your head are counted. Among those records is the scroll of your future union, a document not drafted by human desire but authored by divine intention. While you wrestled with unanswered prayers and questioned the silence around your relationships, the truth is that your story has already been inked into eternity. Every delay, every heartbreak, every closed door has been part of the script guiding you toward the fulfillment of what was written long before you breathed your first breath. Imagine for a moment that what you thought was loss was actually editing. Lines were being struck out, paragraphs were being reshaped, so that the final signature could be written in perfection. Yeshua, who once said, "He is the way, the truth, and the life," has not only walked beside you in the silence, but his hand has signed the very scroll that guards your destiny. His seal is the reason why imitations could not stay, why counterfeit connections slipped away no matter how tightly you tried to hold them. It was not rejection, it was authorship. This scroll carries more than names. It carries assignments. Your union is not merely for companionship, it is for purpose. The one chosen to walk with you is not selected by appearance alone, but by alignment with the mission encoded within your spirit. That is why delays have been intense, and why the waiting has been long. It is not about love alone, it is about destiny being preserved. To release the wrong alignment would be to fracture the mission itself, and heaven has guarded too much over your life to allow that mistake. Still, scrolls are not meant to stay sealed forever. A time comes when what has been kept hidden is opened, when the wax breaks and the words are revealed, when the name written beside yours finally steps into your life in the appointed moment. But if the scroll has been preserved with such care, then what other secrets are written upon it that have yet to be unveiled to you? There comes a moment when the questions that haunted you for years begin to unravel, when the fog that once clouded your understanding starts to lift. You look back at the empty seasons, the unanswered prayers, the doors that refuse to open, and you begin to sense that none of it was wasted. Being set apart was never meant to break you, it was meant to form you. It was not a punishment to watch others build while you waited. It was preparation for something they could never carry. What you thought was delay was a refinement designed to carve strength into your spirit and clarity into your path. Being set apart strips away illusions. It forces you to confront yourself in ways comfort never could. Without distractions, you learned how to hear the subtle voice within, how to trust the unseen hand guiding you, how to stand even when everything else felt unstable. It was in the solitude that your faith was tested and your vision sharpened. What others mistook as loneliness was actually a furnace where endurance was forged, a place where your spirit grew into the fullness of its authority. There were battles you did not see, wars that never touched your life, because you were hidden. What looked like rejection was actually the covering that made sure you survived the storms waiting beyond your view. You were set apart so that when the time comes, you would not only step into alignment, but carry the resilience to protect it. The isolation was the soil where the roots of your destiny dug deep, unseen but unshakable, waiting for the season to bring forth fruit. Now you stand on the edge of understanding, realizing that the years of separation were never empty years. They were the groundwork for revelation, the construction of a foundation strong enough to hold what others could not. Being set apart was not the end of your story. It was the hidden beginning of it. But if being set apart has revealed so much already, what greater unveiling is still waiting, just beyond the horizon of this season you are about to step into?
If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here. But be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.